Hi everyone. Today I want to share with you something special. What this is I bought myself a bonsai tree. This is a large and very old Chinese elm that I was lucky enough to purchase from another collection, and it has a lot of good things going for it. For one thing, it's quite old, probably around 50 years old, and for another, it has a massive trunk here. So let's take a look at this tree. It's been traditionally shaped, and if you notice a slight resemblance between this and some of my own trees, it's because the gentleman who grew this tree took lessons from one of the same people who taught me at one time. Now let's look at the branch progression. We've got the first branch, and here we have a problem. Unfortunately, this tree has been out of the sunlight for a little bit too long, and we've lost two lower branches. So it would have gone first branch, counterbalance, second branch, third branch, back branch, front branch, but we've lost these two. And if you'll remember my previous Chinese elm video, if you look at this one and look inside, you don't have much in the way of leaves on the inner branches close to the trunk, unlike the tree that I worked on in the video that I posted a week ago. So these are things that have to be corrected with this tree, and we're going to do this in two phases. The first thing we're going to do is it needs a good pruning. You notice it is still putting on good growth out on the outer surface, and that's because it's been trying to reach the light. But again, it came at the expense of the inner branches. So what we're going to do is we're going to prune this back, and we're going to go from whatever the branch length is back to one or two sets of leaves on each tip in order to try to get it to bud back to the inside and get light and air to the inner part of the tree. But the second thing we're going to try to do, and this last week's tree was my inspiration for this, remember on that tree there was a pruning scar down low where I'd taken off a big branch, and there was a large sucker growing out of there, a new branch. So I'm thinking if we cut these dead branches back to live wood and give this tree enough soil and enough fertilizer and enough nutrients, maybe we get lucky and we get some new growth at that point. So let's get started. Now, first off, unlike junipers, we don't do deadwood on Chinese elms. So what we'll do with these dead branches is we'll cut them back. I'm going to need the bigger one for this. And we're going to cut them back till we get to live wood. Now, this is obviously dead here. And this is a fairly old branch too, judging by the growth rings. And we're still not quite at live wood yet. And we're getting closer. Oh, I'm seeing a little bit of live cambium there. So, oh, there we are. Now we're at live wood. Now, like I said, if we're lucky, when this heals and scars, if we feed the tree enough nutrients, we'll get some new growth from that spot. Now we'll do the same thing on this. And that's still dead wood. And that's still dead wood. And now we're at live wood here. Okay, so let's leave those. And now let's go to the smaller shears, and let's just start taking this back. And we'll just start pruning here and going around and try to get the growth to reach back into the inside of the tree. Now at this point, I'm not overly focused on shape, because before we can reshape the tree, we've got to get it healthy and get good growth. And you can see even on this branch here, which is apparently healthy, we've had diebacks here where either the leaves fell off last winter and didn't appear in the spring, or it's more recently died back due to lack of light. But either way, it's not a good thing for the tree. And in order to get this right, we have to do some serious work here. Now the reason this gets like this is because the branches above are shading it out. Well, that and it's been kept in a location that didn't get quite enough sunlight. But when you let the upper branches get too long, they'll shade out the lower branches, and this one basically died because this one above it shaded it out, and same with this one here shaded it out. Now with Chinese elms, that's the typical reason why we don't go for kind of this dome tree shape here. We go for a bit more of a cone shape so that the upper branches don't shade out the lower ones and kill them off. And if you want to do the rounded dome tree shape, my recommendation for that is, instead of doing a Chinese elm, uses Alcova, a Japanese elm, because those are more shade tolerant, and with those you're far less likely to lose lower branches if you let the crown get too full. Now I'm just working on this one branch here right now, and once I finish it, then I'm going to step back and take a bit of a look and see how it fits into the context of the tree overall. And I kind of chose this branch arbitrarily. I could have started just about anywhere, but it's the lowest branch above the dead ones, and it's a good starting point because it's part of what caused us to lose those branches. At this point, we've cleaned up the lower branches, and the good news is some of the tree's original bonsai style is starting to emerge. The bad news is we're starting to see just how serious the lack of inner growth is in these lower branches. The next stage is to clean up the top so that we can get sunlight and air into the inner branches so that the tree wants to grow there. So we'll just continue working on the tree here, and same pattern that I've been following, which is I take a shoot and take it back to the first two nodes of growth. And one of the real ways that we can tell that this tree is suffering from a lack of light and air is the leaves on the outside are much larger than the ones on the inside. Now I'm also kind of going through here and carefully looking because I want to try to restore the branch differentiation that this tree had when it was originally shaped. Now at this point I am letting the length of the lower branches to some extent dictate what I do, but I have to be careful with that because if I remove all the leaves and I go back to something that's already in trouble, like here, this little branch, we've got a branch that's died back in here, and you'll see that's dry and dead there, and this is part of the problem here with yep, that's dead wood there. And that's part of the problem we've got with this tree, is that we have too much of that going on. So we just keep steadily cutting and working until we rediscover a discernible branch structure. Now up here this can get really difficult because we've got some stuff that it maybe needs in order to be part of the shape. Now this, heavens, let's leave that. In some ways this is almost like an archaeological expedition because we're trying to discover what the intent of the original shaper of the tree was. Discovering a fair amount of dead growth on the inner branches here, and that's making things a bit more difficult. But what I'm trying to do is reestablish flat planes of foliage, not just because that's part of the bonsai aesthetic, but also because it helps foster good growth by getting the light and air to the inner branches where they're needed. This branch here, we've got part of an upper branch here that's kind of come down onto it, and we need to deal with that. And then the upper planes of this branch, or the upward growth on this branch, has just gotten too straggly and too leggy. And we just need to keep trimming back, and trimming back. So we continue going back to 1 or 2 nodes on each branch tip and trying to open things up here. And then kind of step back and see where we are. If you look at the tree now, I'm starting to see some discernible structure here. We're starting to have something. So let's just keep going, keep working, and keep pruning overgrowth and see where we end up. One thing I encountered in cleaning this tree out was a lot of dead inner twigs, which again indicates to me that the tree was simply suffering from a lack of light. But at this point, we've removed all of the overgrowth. We've taken just about every shoot on the tree back to roughly 2 nodes of growth. And we've thinned it out to the point where light can reach the lower branches easily. And hopefully this will start the tree on its way back to good health. Now, it won't be a part of this video, but I'm also going to repot this tree into a deeper pot with a larger soil volume. And the previous owner's soil composition is not what I use. It's something different. I don't know what it is, and I won't know until I take the tree out and examine the roots. But I'm going to go with my tried and true soil recipe simply because I know that it works. And although this pot is quite beautiful and the effect of the old tree in the shallow pot is very striking, this tree is going to have to be in a deeper pot at least for the next couple of years so that it can regain its health and regain the inner growth in here, and hopefully put some new growth on these places where it lost branches so that we can fully reestablish its original image. So this concludes our work for today. We've thinned it out, we've removed all the dead twigs, we've cleaned it up. So let's do a 360 and show you what the tree looks like. Thank you for watching, folks.